Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth. As always, I'm your host, the Game Master, and today we're talking about the final battle of World War II. But before we get into that, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell for notifications, and as always, be sure to leave us a comment as that really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. We've got a great community here, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. With all that said, let's dive in. The prologue to today's story takes place in 1945, and only two major Axis villains remain: Kulak, who has 42 APs of sorcery, and Wotan, who has 30 APs of sorcery. They are at Castle Webelsburg, along with several members of the race they call the Vril. We mentioned the Vril in past games, by the way. They're the same race of giants that Dagda fought in ancient Ireland. The evil leader of Germany made a pact with the Vril, and they taught the Germans how to build flying saucers. And now those same saucers are patrolling the skies over Webelsburg. Anyways, the villains are desperate for reinforcements, so Kulak and Wotan try to summon more villains from the Hollow Earth, who can try to help the Axis yet find some victory amongst all this chaos. So the ground splits open, and up from the bowels of the earth comes three kaiju-sized Cthulhu-style beings known as the Inhumanoids. Metlar, the leader, has red skin, long pointed ears, and horns. He has a variety of fire-based abilities. Decompose is a gigantic dinosaur-like undead kaiju. His touch can turn the living into the undead, and he can also animate and control the dead. So Decompose causes all the dead Axis soldiers to get up and go again. Finally, Tendril is like a kaiju-sized version of Swamp Thing or Man Thing. He's a slimy hybridization somewhere between a mollusk and a walking mass of seaweed, and he can regenerate his vine-like limbs. Large enough pieces even grow into new tendril monsters, and he's able to alter his size at will. More brawn than brain, his regenerative powers alongside his sheer strength and aggression make him an extremely dangerous foe. Which brings us to the main plot of this game session. The Autobots roll towards Webelsburg, and as the flying saucers start to come their way, one of the flying saucers opens fire on the others. This particular flying saucer is actually Cosmos, an Autobot who scanned and duplicated the physical form of these other air vehicles. As soon as Cosmos attacks, the various superheroes that were riding in the Autobots fly out, and the Autobots themselves transform. Leading them are twin trucks, Optimus Prime and his all-white counterpart, Ultra Magnus. A group of 5 planes merge, forming Superion, an Autobot combiner that's about 50 feet tall. 5 more vehicles show up, merging to form another 50-foot tall robot called Defensor. And a Mega Supreme arrives, teaming up with Superion and Defensor to attack Metlar, Decompose, and Tendril. The street level members of the Allied forces, like Sergeant Rock and Easy Company, as well as Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos, all deal with the zombies, while the big guns enter Castle Webelsburg. The Vril giants defend the castle, so the Marvel family takes them on. By the way, in 1945, in our game world, the Marvel family consists of Billy Batson, Mary Batson, Darla Dudley, Eugene Choi, Freddie Freeman, Hoppy the Marvel Bunny, who's from Toontown, by the way, Pedro Panay, Talkie Tawny, and Uncle Marvel. They are aided by the Lieutenant Marvels, who are 3 other boys who happen to be named Billy Batson. Because they were also named Billy Batson, when the wizard Shazam said, quote unquote, Billy Batson can wield my powers, it meant that literally everyone on Earth at that time named Billy Batson could now have those powers if they said the word Shazam. The Lieutenant Marvels, that is, were nicknamed Tall Billy, Fat Billy, and Hillbilly to differentiate themselves from Captain Marvel himself. Oh, and before I forget, Butia Savannah, who is the beautiful daughter of Dr. Savannah and Billy Batson's girlfriend, has joined the good guys, so she too is fighting the giants. As they do that, Dr. Fate 2, who is Inza Kramer Nelson, she pits her 28 APs of sorcery against Wotan's 30 APs of sorcery. And the Golden Age Spectre, aka Jim Corrigan, pits his 45 APs of sorcery against Kulak's 42 APs of sorcery. Superman Red goes to lend a hand, but he encounters the leader of Germany himself, the little man with the stupid mustache. Superman Red says he's been looking forward to this day for a long time as he cracks his knuckles and tells the Fuhrer that he's going to rip his spine out and show it to him. But then a second Fuhrer shows up, and then a third. Superman Red isn't really that surprised. After all, Red has been fighting clones for years now in the form of Ubermensch and his duplicates. But there are 2 things that do surprise Red. The first is that the Fuhrer has a duplicator ray, which can copy and paste anything it shoots, whether it's organic or inorganic. The duplicator ray is where all these clones are coming from right now. And the second thing that surprises Red is that one of the clones got his hands on a piece of X kryptonite, which is the same stuff that gives Superman Red his powers. So, in an effort to counter all of these evil clones, Red calls in his counterparts. Like we said in previous videos, Red had the split power. One of him could become 12. Those 12 could be 144, so on and so forth. So now there's a Red for every Fuhrer. And only 2 of them have powers from X kryptonite at the beginning of the fight. So we roll initiative. The Fuhrer only has a base initiative of 23, while Red's base initiative is 40. So all of the Reds are faster. So Superman Red tries to take the X kryptonite from the villain, and he needs an 11 or better on 2 10-sided dice. But he only rolls a 2 and a 3. So when he goes to grab the small lead-lined box containing the X kryptonite, the Fuhrer tosses it to one of his clones, kind of like a game of keep away. The other versions of Superman Red, who each go by a different name of a legend that they inspired over the years, attack the Fuhrers. So, for instance, one of them is called Arthur, one of them is called Beowulf, one of them is called Dagda, one of them is Oberon, so on and so forth, right? So when they attack the villain, it's their dexterity of 10 versus the villain's dexterity of 3. So each Red only needs a 5 or better to hit. So Red 1 rolls a 2 and a 1, and he misses the Fuhrer that he's attacking. Red 2 rolls a 4 and a 6, which is a hit. Red 3 rolls a 9 and a 6, which is a hit. Red 4 rolls a 4 and a 2, which is a hit. Red 5 rolls a 10 and an 8, which is a hit. Red 6 rolls a 5 and a 2, which is a hit. Red 7 rolls a 6 and a 10, which is a hit. Red 8 rolls a 10 and a 1, which is a hit. Red 9 rolls a 3 and a 1, which is a miss. Red 10 rolls a 9 and a 4, which is a hit. Red 11 rolls a 2 and a 3, which is a hit. Now it's the villain's turn. The only one who's been exposed to X-Kryptonite uses a maneuver from DC Heroes called multi-attack. This allows him to attack multiple enemies at once. He gets a penalty of 4 column shifts to what he normally needs to attack 12 enemies. So with his heat vision of 30 APs, he needs to roll a 5 or better to hit the Reds who have not yet been exposed to X-Kryptonite. The evil dictator rolls a 10 and a 1. So red beams shoot out of his eyes like the laser equivalent of a machine gun. And all of the Reds, except for the one with powers, are dead. So Dagda is dead, King Arthur is dead, Beowulf is dead. It's actually a fairly big deal. Because up until this moment, these guys have survived for centuries. And it's just a slaughter. The second Fuhrer opens the lead box, exposing himself to X-Kryptonite. The third Fuhrer uses the duplicator ray on himself, creating another Fuhrer with another duplicator ray. So now there's 4 villains, half with powers, half without. And it's Superman Red's turn. He rolls a 10 and a 3, getting 1 column shift, stealing the duplicator ray and using it on himself, creating 2 more Reds. On one of the new Reds' turn, he multi-attacks the Fuhrers, rolling a 10 and a 6, which is 2 column shifts. And their bodies drop from 40 to 18. Then he attacks again, rolling a 9 and a 10. And the super-powered Fuhrers are knocked out. While the last Red uses heat vision, rolling a 7 and an 8, killing the 2 non-powered Fuhrers. When the Reds leave, they find that basically all of the other heroes won their respective fights as well. The Inhumanoids and the Vril flee to the Hollow Earth with their flying saucers. Kulak and Wotan were killed by Dr. Fate and the Spectre. And the invaders, who were guys like Human Torch and Namor the Submariner, killed the zombies. Which brings us to our epilogue. Not long after this adventure took place, on April 30th of 1945, one of the Fuhrer's clones is found dead in his bunker in Berlin. Several superheroes, as well as the higher-ups in the United States government, are aware of the existence of the duplicator rays and the possibility that this may not have been the original, but rather a clone. This fact is kept quiet, though, and a war-weary general public is led to believe that the most notorious evil villain of the 20th century is finally dead. In secret, though, the Ultra Humanite, who is the world's leading expert on the subject of brain transplants, removes the brain of a character named Dan the Dynamite. And the brain of the Fuhrer is placed into the young body of Dan. So Dan goes to America, where he is greeted as a returning hero, and parades are thrown in his honor. And he bides his time and prepares for the next step in his plan. But that's a story for another day. This adventure had all the most famous tropes from the Weird War II genre, like cloning, flying saucers, secret societies, robots, the Hollow Earth, the works. So we had a really good time playing this one. And this wasn't just a single adventure. This was I sort of told you about the Superman Red part of it because to me it was the most important part. Um but we sort of ran the same game multiple times from different people's point of view. In a local comic book store, we ran one that was just Transformers versus Inhumanoids. We ran one that was invaders versus zombies, you know what I mean? Um, but you get the gist. Uh, we had a great time. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about it. If so, as always, we would love it if you took a second of your time to smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Ring the bell so you know when I upload more stuff. And as always, be sure to leave us a comment because that really helps out with the algorithm. From all of us here at the longest running superhero RPG on Earth, I hope that you guys have a great week, and we will see you in the next adventure. Bye.